Hello and welcome to Real Person Reviews. Do that? I don't know. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Portal, a game that I played on my Steam Deck. Um, a game that came out in like 2007, and I just actually haven't played it until recently. And I mean, that sounds kind of crazy, but here it is. Here we are. It's 2023 right now when I'm recording this, so this isn't the newest thing to be talking about. So kind of keep that in mind. You know, I've seen people play it in like the sequel and other things. I know the general idea going into it, so it didn't really blow me away quite the way it would have maybe somebody who has never seen or heard of Portal before. But I don't know. I just wanted to kind of preface this a little bit with that before we really dive into this. And to also show you, yes, I played the whole thing on my Steam Deck, so I can confirm it is Steam Deck compatible. You play the whole thing on your Steam Deck. So let's get into it. So Portal is at its core basically a puzzle game. It has kind of a plot to it somewhat that's just kind of there to, more of like a premise to get you to solve puzzles. Basically you're in this testing facility, they're doing testing on people, and the main tests are to see how you can, how quickly you can solve puzzles, what way you solve them, and kind of monitoring your behavior and your reactions while you're doing it. And the good news for you is that if you go through all of these test chambers and complete all of them, you'll be rewarded with some delicious cake. So that's more or less the premise of the game. And most of the puzzles here do really revolve around the portal gun, the thing that's kind of in the title, Portal. This gun shoots out a blue portal and an orange portal. You can shoot one of each of those. And basically going into one has you exiting the other. So, I mean, the game will kind of show you that as well, and maybe stuff you'll be seeing on the screen gameplay-wise if it gets to the point, because early on, you'll see it there, because early on it does kind of try to give you some basic ideas of how to solve puzzles before really introducing the portals too much, doing too much with them, and slowly they start to incorporate them more, and then incorporate other elements on top of those. So, basically the whole idea is just to get to the exit, primarily using these portals and solving puzzles there. There are usually other elements, though, being implemented along the way. There are some places where there will be a button you need to have depressed, so a lot of times you need to put a cube on them. In order to do that, you might need a cube to, to use as like a step to jump onto. There are also these little enemy turret things that will shoot at you. Sometimes you need to use the cube to disrupt them, or you basically have to move them so they fall over and start shooting everywhere. And then deactivate. Otherwise, if you can't somehow block them or get around them, they will just shoot you and kill you. Sometimes there are buttons you have to hit in order to open up boxes or make some things appear. There's a few elements thrown in here basically that are used to make the puzzles different. Oh, another big one is that there'll be a thing that like shoots out a projectile, and that projectile has to go from the shooter into like this receiver to power, say, a lift or a door or something like that. Sometimes you need to satisfy multiple pieces in order to unlock the door to leave. Sometimes you have to do it in phases of do this and then you can do the next part. But essentially it just goes by test chamber to test chamber trying to do this. All while the friendly computer GLaDOS says things to you along the way. That's pretty much it. That's all there is really to explain for, the game in general. And I think the game is pretty excellent. Honestly, it does a really, really good job of really focusing on the portals in the puzzle solving. Which sounds kind of silly because, of course it does. It's called Portal, right? But It did a really good job of never making it feel like here's the gimmick for this room, and having that gimmick not really have much to do with your portals. It always has something to do with the portals, and you have to kind of still think with those. Like, there aren't too many rooms to go into, and it's like, okay, I can do, other than maybe some of the early ones, I can't just go in and solve everything without having to think about where do my portals go, and how do I manipulate them in order to make to solve this puzzle. You will need them in every puzzle, and I think they do an excellent job of doing that. Especially as somebody like me who really likes when mechanics are explored like this. They do a lot of stuff with it. They even do some stuff with the portals where it's like, oh yeah, you have to like fall down into a portal and then like shoot another portal around. So you got to fall down into one to make you shoot out into another to make you have like a super jump kind of thing going on, stuff like that. I think that's really clever stuff. Not to mention that this is just, generally like a really impressive thing. Like, I don't know how they programmed this in the first place. I mean, I don't know how they program anything. I don't make games, so I don't know how they programmed this. But also the idea that they were able to program this and make this function on systems back in like 2007. That's pretty crazy shit. I can see why this was a pretty popular game. So pretty impressive. The only real downsides here, I think, are number one, it's pretty short. A fairly short experience that you go through. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but somebody wanting to do a ton of puzzles and getting really into this, you might be a little bit like, oh man, that was it, that's over. There's also like the thing where some of this is kind of difficult to, like, getting through the portals sometimes is kind of a pain. Like, you have to, sometimes you feel like you should go through them and you don't quite go through them the way you think you will. Especially this is true again with the falling down and shooting out of portals thing. Sometimes it's really particular. If you don't get directly through there, you're not going to launch through it and you're going to mess up the momentum. You have to start all that over again. And on top of that, there's also the thing where it's kind of hard to aim. Like, if you have to do a thing where you have to fall through a portal to fly up through another one, then shoot another spot, so that when you fall through the portal that you came up again, like, we'll fly out of a different spot and keep like swapping portals that way with your jumping momentum. Doing that kind of thing, which you have to do a few times in the game, is really, really hard, because if you don't place those portals really particularly, for one, you won't even get through them in the first place, and for another, you'll like be disoriented when you come out. It's hard to aim right away when you come out of a portal, and then you have to like turn to a different side or whatever and quickly find the exact spot you're supposed to shoot and then shoot it before you fall all the way down to the point, where you have to go through again. It's very easy to mess that up, screw up your momentum, have to do all that over again. Those parts are frustrating. Just all the action in general is frustrating, because platforming is kind of clunky. It feels like way too hard to like get the exact jumps on some of these things, where it's like, it feels like if you jump, if you jump too soon, you're not going to make the jump. If you jump too late, you just won't jump and you'll fall, and there's not much of it in between there to get the correct jump on some of these. So it's a little bit clunky with any platformer, or like any action stuff you have to do, basically. Anything that's action-oriented that requires reflexes like that is not that good here. The puzzle solving is more of the strong suit. So it could stand to be a little bit more polished, a little bit longer. The action stuff is just probably my biggest gripe is that it's hard to like those sections.
Once again, excellent work. As part of our required test protocol, we will not monitor the next test chamber. You will be entirely on your own. Good luck.
That being said, Portal is still pretty excellent. I will admit that I didn't do much of the extra stuff. They do have extra things added on here, where you can do these challenge levels. There's like so there are some that are like hard. Basically, they're like harder versions. I think they're extra levels and challenge levels, I think is what it was called. Basically, they're levels where the extra ones are kind of like the same levels over again, but like a few of those test chambers, but they've made them harder. They've taken away more like floor things, or they've taken away some ways to solve them, and you have to find a different way to solve them, probably. They're a little bit more challenging, a little more tasking. Those are kind of fun until I got to one that was like on a timed thing. You had to do, again, action stuff, and I quit that. It's like, I don't care, it's done. I don't like that, it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. And because it's not part of the main game. And then there's also challenge stages, which I didn't even bother with the challenge levels, because they're basically, all of those are built on this idea that you either have to do it with as few portals as possible, with as few steps as possible, or within a certain time limit. None of those really sounded particularly fun to me. I mean, I guess as few portals possible, maybe somewhat neat, but realistically, I'd rather just play and like solve the puzzle, and once I solve it, like that should be the thing, right? It's kind of frustrating to like solve a puzzle and then not be able to do it, even though I know what I'm supposed to do. It's just hard to do, and so that's really the only knocks against the game are that those things kind of did some of that. So I didn't fully complete all of those, but I did the main game, and like with the puzzles and the atmosphere that it creates, it's great. It's a really fun game. So if you haven't played it, you probably should. I don't know how you haven't by now. What do you, me? Check it out. I think you usually get it. I think I've seen it on sale because I think it's only about like usually it's like $10 or something, $5-10 on Steam. I feel like I've seen it go for like 50 cents on Steam sales sometimes. Like it can get ridiculously cheap. It is really fun, and I guess full disclosure, before even doing this review, I did I started playing Portal 2 right away, and so there's also like it's on a lot of platforms I think now too. As well. I know it's on. I know at least like they put out the collection of 1 and 2 on Switch recently, and they've got the original ones I believe are on the Xbox systems. Because I don't know if I'm pretty sure PlayStation has them too with the orange box stuff and whatever. I'm pretty sure those are on console. So like this is like they're finally on like Nintendo ones now too with the Switch. So you can pretty easily get this and play it. It should play on a lot of things. It's easy to find if you have Steam. You might already just have it in there. You're like, oh, I don't remember getting this, but it's there, So definitely check it out if you haven't yet. It's definitely worth paying. Like I'll say $10 is probably about the ceiling price you want to pay for Portal, just because you can get it cheaper. It's on everything. If you're getting just Portal, it's kind of short, but it's short but sweet. What you get is pretty good, and even though it's not 2007 anymore, and it's that I had a lot of it spoiled for me by understanding how this stuff works before I even played it, I still had a blast, so you probably will too. Let's do an awkward zoom in and then we'll just cut. That'll work, right?
As part of a required test protocol, our previous statement suggesting that we would not monitor this chamber was an outright fabrication. Good job. As part of a required test protocol, we will stop enhancing the truth in 3, 2, 1.